What is going on, Lunatic Fringe? Are you scared yet? Have you felt it? Is it in your mind that it's over? Because there are a lot of people now talking about this is the end. This is where the quote-unquote rubber hits the road. This is where the entire bull market is over. There's a lot of negativity in the market. And by the way, that leads to what's called extreme fear. Not only is the crypto market experiencing extreme fear, tech stocks, NASDAQ, everything is feeling extreme fear right now as investors have decided that the valuation of a lot of AI companies and tech stocks have been overpriced, and that Tesla down 6.5% today, Palantir down 6% today. We're talking about some devastating moves in all indices markets, and what do we make of that? Well, make sure you hit the like button on the way in. I'm going to break this down as best I can for you and give you what you need to know for the day. Before we unpack everything, terracasino.io. If you are looking for risk-based gaming, remember it's Friday night, so there's Friday night football on today. So make sure that you put in whatever your wager is for the day. The NBA in full effect, the NFL, the NHL, everywhere you want to go, everywhere you want to be for risk-based gaming, right there. So make sure that you sign up today. Terraport.finance for all of your risk-based gaming. Terraport.finance for all of your meme coins and utility coins. Get your bag today while the dip is happening. You will not regret it. All right, can I just point out $34,000 in volume, $36,000 in volume. TerraSwap, Terraport coming alive in the last 24 hours. Garuda DeFi, $10,000. TerraPump.fun, thank you guys, $1,300. We're having a little bit of a move. And WeSo World, $305 in transactions yesterday. So we're starting to see some uptick in volume. That doesn't mean that the uptick is going to maintain. We have to see that data come in over the next couple of days. But historically, what we're feeling right now is a real crunch. People are being frozen out of the market. We've been here before. We've been here many times before, so I don't think anything of it. I think it's just the nature of the business, the market cycles playing out. I don't think that we are actually going lower, full disclosure. Or let me rephrase that. I think that if we go lower, we're going to have an incredibly strong bounce, and we're going to be testing all-time highs very soon. Capital flow, everything that you want to be positive is still positive, despite the fact that you're feeling that fear in the market and you're feeling that profit taking happening right now. And as a matter of fact, I do want to point some things out. When you look at some of these markets, which we'll do on my live stream, if you tune in at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, if you were to look at the way that the market is pricing and moving things right now, because they're coming out of tech stocks, people are not taking their money and going home. They're putting it into other things right now that they think are going to be positive. So there is some profit taking along the way. There is a huge amount of capital rotation, but the market's not down 6 or 7% like Tesla. The market's not down 6 or 7% like Palantir. The market's only down 1% overall. Okay, that money is just being moved over to other places. So bear that in mind when you decide what you're going to do with your bags. Okay, real quick, I do want to point this out right here. Happy Caddy Crypto's picked up 1.4 billion in new delegations along with Stakely over the last 7 days, which means that finally, because Happy Caddy Crypto is out of the hospital, he's starting to build again. You've seen the positive build out on Lunk Dash. You've seen all those things. We're finally seeing a move back into Happy Caddy as a delegator. And look, I disagree fundamentally with Happy Caddy Crypto on a lot of different things, but the one thing that I know is that his entire focus is to secure this network as best he may. So despite the fact that I may dunk on him from time to time, or say something that he doesn't like, or let you guys know that he sends me hate messages and then deletes them so that I don't screenshot them and share them with you, stuff like that. Those kind of things. Despite all of those kind of things, I think that he is ultimately somebody who's good for the chain. So it's good to see him moving back up if he does in fact move up in those rankings. Would like to see a little bit more Happy Caddy, a little less Greenpeace in all fairness, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Again, I'm going to disagree fundamentally with him a lot of times because I'm here for your bag. not his bag or not the network, if you will. I'm here to protect you guys. So just know that I don't have a problem with you moving over into Happy Caddy Crypto if you partake in that fashion. Now, while we're talking about that, I wanted to show you a couple of pieces of data right now that I think is very, very important. Okay. Now, this is an old, let's not get into that one right now. I want to show you some delegation over here. So the number of delegators, that's the question that I've had for a while, right? Over the last 6 months, we've lost a couple thousand delegators. Now, you can tell because the activity is down. You can tell those kind of things. But since 2.3, which was November of 2023, we've actually picked up delegators. There's actually more delegators now than there were before. Since 2.3, we had this big day of unbonding a while back, but we don't have this gigantic run of unbonding stuff like that. Total stake, we've had some dips along the way. Remember, there's a 21-day period, so when you look at unbondings, it doesn't happen on the same time. It's the next day. The total stake continues to meander right around an acceptable range. I mean, there's not really a crazy anything to it. The problem here is, of course, the price, and that when you've got price down so much, and you have so many people, and I think we should point out there's so many people out here that are speculating on Terra Luna Classic and speculating in the way that they think that this is going to be their next 100x bag or their next 1000x bag or something like that. And they're going to throw $100 in here and become a millionaire. Okay, there's a lot of people like that are sitting on their bags right now. I've answered so many questions about it going to a penny, a dime, a dollar over the years that I know how many speculative people there are. Those people are also people who are just going to sell and dump to begin with. Now, that being said, we do have to, we need to see some life, and as we're not seeing it right now, that's making people sell, okay? And every time we get bad news in the market, every time this price gets pushed down even lower and lower and lower and lower, because those things are happening, then it looks bad overall, right? However, it's looking bad for almost everything. This is not exclusive to Terra Luna Classic. Despite the collapse of Terra Luna Classic, it still maintains a market cap of $178 million, which is significant, with 65 million of it being staked. So, these are big numbers. And I don't think that, look, and it could go lower. It very well could go lower, but it's not as bad as you might think. In fairness, the market cap on Mantra, and I talk about Mantra every once in a while, during their collapse, and their chain didn't break. Nothing really happened there fundamentally, except one guy got liquidated for $36 million because he was gambling on Bitcoin, and he was using his Mantra to stake. And he lost $36 million. That caused a catastrophic dump. Of course, that meant that there were certain people that were holding too much of the supply, and that spooked investors because they don't want to see the same thing happen again. And people had some concerns. Well, it has a lower market cap than Terra Luna Classic. It had almost a $10 billion market cap. So, these things do happen, and we are going to recover just like anything else. Now, again, let's talk about this one more time. Hyperlane integration on Terra Luna Classic, allowing multi-chain connectivity with Ethereum, BSC, and Solana. It looks like there's about 3 days left. And I don't know how we're going to tip the scale, but there looks to be mostly yeses. The no right now is just one with buy node. There's people voting no with veto. And then you've got AutoStake who've abstained. But so far, you've seen everybody kind of sitting on the sidelines. And just to be fair, I think that they don't want to let you know exactly how they're going to vote. I think it's shady when people do this, but, I can't tell, I can't tell people what to do. I can ask you to validate with the people whose beliefs align with yours. So if you think this is a good idea and you're with buy notes, get out of buy notes. Go find somebody else. If you think the answer should be no and you're yes, get out of Interstellar, get out of Lunk Goblins, get out of Terra Vita, get out, validate with the people who align with your belief system. And by the way, you can move it all the time. You're not subject to that. Also, the public inquiry into Binance. Now, what we have here so far is, and this is a long, and we're going to have Happy Caddy Crypto, who most likely will have to abstain. AutoStake has already abstained. Terra Bits and RT100, they're probably scared about, what I was just talking about. No with veto, Greenpeace, which makes me like the proposal for some reason. I don't know why that is. But Quantum Nodes, Lunk Goblins, Garuda X, you can see that all like right here. Battle Force, they're all voting yes. They all want to find out exactly what's going on. Greenpeace probably kind of like me, and I don't believe I'm aligning with Greenpeace on this one, but rocking this boat, it might be a boat that you don't want to rock. Now, I say it in that context, but let me be frank with you. There is a possibility that maybe Binance is just looking at like, oh yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Maybe Binance is just like, yeah, we'll do whatever you guys, whatever this vote is, it's cool. But the when you look at it, it kind of looks like we're accusing Binance, okay, on the surface. Now, Cappy Caddy Crypto is not in any way accusing Binance, but it's not about what you're doing. It's about what people feel like you're doing. And one of the things that if you guys are, most of you are familiar with crypto enough to know that if you want to, you can't money launder from your own government, but if you wanted to quote unquote money launder your crypto, then you just send it to a centralized exchange, which has your own private wallet, and you have a wall right there to protect you. And then all you have to do is create a fresh wallet and move it one more time back out into DeFi, and it's basically been washed from public eye. So, that right there is one of the things that, now the question is, what exactly did Terra Luna, what exactly did Terraform Labs do here? Given the potential scale of USTC transferred, demands formal scrutiny by the validators, delegators, and the Terra Luna Classic community, so a public inquiry may take root. So what we're talking about and what they're talking about is really something like 70 million. It's not a lot of LUNC, but there is a lot of USTC. There's 2.4 million LUNC right there. Not significant, not something that we really looking for, but 3 billion USTC. Now, let's take that over and let's apply that to the price right now, which is again down big on the day, just like LUNC is down on the day. And again, every day I seem to keep moving the goalpost. I told you yesterday that I think that we're going to kind of range sideways from here before we have any kind of spike or move. We're just trying to establish, what is that bottom line? What is that region? And it looks like we've had a little bit of a spike off of all of the sell-off that we've had, but again, I'm not saying that the market is going to reverse at this point, okay? Anything that I see in this market right now, look, everything is cooled off. Everything is broken down. Everything is coming under trend line. We're finally really legitimately sort of breaking down from some of these ranges that we've had. But if we were to, just let's evaluate it a little bit differently and let's say, well, let's just take the peaks and valleys completely right there. We've got so much more downside if we just consider that little shift that I put right there. You can see like right here, right there in that zone, there was this little spot right here. We move that back up just a little bit, and we kind of get into that trend line right there and say that we broke that structure. That structure's right there. So we broke that structure a little bit. But generally we've bounced off of that range. We've bounced. Okay, so I like that range a little bit more, but if we, again, look at it this way, we're still in an uptrend, a massive uptrend if we do it that way. Also, let's do both of them up. So that's what we're looking like right now. It's just kind of a ray format from that beginning move right there. So, we could be looking at a strong bounce, or we could be looking at more downward momentum. I mean, to the point that we go back to a 3 trillion market cap. We're only 200 billion away. We've eaten $1 trillion out of market cap in the last little while. While everybody's feeling bullish, while everybody has all of these different reasons to feel super bullish, etc., 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 Trump administration, blah, 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 guess what? The markets are just absolutely capitulating. And why are they capitulating? There's a bunch of different reasons, which we'll get into on my live streams, but safe to say for right now, we could see the U.S. in a buy zone because we're down $100 billion on the day. And every time we've seen nice big pumps in the market, we've seen the U.S. market extracting liquidity. We might see a reversal here. I'm not sure that we will. If we do, it could just be like a dead cat bounce before we head lower. Again, that trend line right there shows me that we could head lower. How does that apply to Terra Luna Classic? Same thing. I mean, this is a pretty aggressive move. If we were to continue this move, then, just kind of zoom out here a little bit. And let's just say that by the course of 2026, we're back up here 100%. And by the way, we're having an enormous spike at some point. But my point is that we could just be seeing this thing really, really start to rocket over the next couple of months. So, but it won't feel like that. It's just going to feel like a tiny bit of recovery, but it would be significant move. So we'll see how this all plays out. Now, as far as volume goes, we're up just a tiny bit to 15 million on the day. Not great, but and then of course 3.2 million over here on USTC. Leonardo, guys, follow Leonardo if you haven't already. It's going to be at Leonardo Lunk. This is about USTC, USTR, and UST1. If you want to do the quote-unquote vampire repeg, then you have an opportunity to do it right now. There is a new article up talking about it right now. Until Ceramic publishes the final white paper, the references below provide the most accurate information so far. So if you're interested and you partake, then by all means go for it. 572 million has been burned so far. Not good burns over the last couple days, but I mean, just, we're kind of meandering there at 40, 50 million, which means there's still some movement going around in the market. There's still some movement there, but here's where everything is really, really important right now. Okay. Just, if you just look at USTC and you look at the amount of supply in circulation, and then you take a moment and you realize, wait a minute, if that's the case, how is there 3 billion USTC still owned by Terraform Labs, and why is it on Binance? That is the question that we are best served answering right now. So, as I zoom out and as I look at this, we could cut USTC supply in half by finding that wallet, being able to address that wallet, Chris Armani, whatever the case may be, being able to go back to these guys and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong. And see that burn, and then all of a sudden the USTC supply goes down and to 3 billion. That becomes a lot more manageable. Remember, we're carrying a $6 billion debt right now. If you repeg for that repeg, it would cost $6 billion right now. If you get that down to $3 billion, it's still untenable, but it's half of the supply. Half of that supply is no longer there. When you see that kind of supply disappear, right now we're trading at what's the number? 0.00667. If we removed half of the supply, we would immediately go up to 1.33 cents. So, we're just subtracting the market cap from, by the way, I think we should do it from circulating supply, but I assume at this point that 3 billion is part of the circulating supply. So if it is 3 billion, then it would go down to 2.5, which means that the increase would be like 120%. So, there is some opportunity there. Not saying that it's going to happen, but it certainly exists. So, guys, I guess what I'm trying to say is hold the line. We are there's some more upside here to this market. This market is not done yet. And even if the market is done, and even if we're not going to see 150,000, 170,000, even if the market is cooked, we're going to see a huge dead cat bounce coming into the Fed. We're looking at rate cuts and we're saying maybe inflation is really crazy. The data does not support that, but people are getting nervous that we're not going to get another rate cut, that they're going to have to step back and stuff like that because we don't have data for a month. But I think that ultimately we're going to like the data that we see, and the market is going to reverse on a dime. We're going to see a nice big pump one more time. But remember, we're tied to tech stocks a lot. So if tech stocks are still continuing to bleed, we're probably going to bleed a little bit more. People are moving out of their investments. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's not financial advice, but I'm always right.